I can go. I feel so grateful too. I think the weather is nice and just being surrounded with great people. Yesterday we went out and videoed, and I feel like there's a lot of people starting to collaborate together and work together, and so it's just so good to. I mean, just to get to work with people. Everybody has different ideas, and it's really nice. I really enjoy that. I think that especially like Anne, she's so good. Open to building this here in Lubbock. For a lot of people collaborating, and it's so good. And I'm grateful to be a part of that. I'm also grateful. Business is good, and I feel like the things that we're doing, like we're committing to certain things and we're doing them, and we're seeing the outcome of it, and it's just great to see. And um, we went to $1 million house yesterday. And with this is Tessa's win, but like getting out of your comfort zone and doing more and being more expectant, and it's just, I mean, you'll get what you work for, and so it's been really nice to be a part of it.
That's awesome. So, well, today's topic hopefully is something that I think in even a lot of the things that some of y'all have mentioned in your gratitudes, those things I think are going to help with some of the things that we're going to talk about today, because it all lends to who you are and what your values are as far as like your attributes and your beliefs about yourself and your standpoint. I don't really believe in coincidences. I think if I'm having multiple conversations around the same topic with different people, I'm like, okay, there's a need out there somewhere for this conversation, not just with agents, but also with myself, with me and Michelle and things that we're working on. And the conversation is around what our own value that we provide to people and our personal branding. Um, I even yesterday, we were in a conversation. Mom, I'm going to use you as an example. And we were doing like just a kind of an on the spot mock conversation around the buy like new buyers reps and how you communicate your value. And Mom was the buyer, and one of the things she asked me was like, well, what are your values? What value do you bring? And it caught me off guard for a second, because I had this thought that our values aren't just a list of things. Well, I'm going to do this, and this. It goes way back before you even get to that conversation on like your value as an agent, your value as a business person isn't just a list of things that you can do. And I'm listening to this podcast. I'm only like halfway through it. It's really good, and I'll try to get it shared. I don't even know the guy's name. It's on the Tom Ferry podcast, but it's not Tom Ferry. But he's talking about branding and marketing, and he said that if you have to talk someone through your value proposition, you don't have a value proposition, because if you've got one that's really clear, it has already been baked in through your messaging, through your marketing, through your actions, through the daily things that you do to run your business. From even a very first phone call, whenever someone, maybe it's a sign call or an online lead, or maybe it is how you put yourself out there in your marketing or social media or whatever it is, that from that very first touch point with you is when your value is communicated. um he also made a really good point that all of this, the lawsuits that we have been feeling the repercussions from, and all the changes in our industry, he said, if agents really understood their value and communicated that well to the world, we wouldn't be in this position to begin with, because it wouldn't have been a question, well, yeah, I'd be happy to pay this commission, or of course we're going to pay 3% to the buyers if I'm the seller, because they would understand. But because we haven't done a really good job of communicating those things, that's why we are here in this new world that we're all trying to navigate. And now we're having to get really clear with our value, and it should have been flip-flopped, right? We should have already had that that message for us as a whole industry as a whole, but even you as an agent building your own business. Um, one of the interesting comparisons that he made, he said that if you're just super tactical with your business, like you don't really have a strategy or messaging or brand around it, you're just, every day I'm picking up the phone and making calls, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing this. Those are good. You're going to be able to you're going to be able to build some business that way. But if you're just doing that without a strategy, and you can't have a brand without a strategy either, if you're just doing the tactical things without that framework and that foundation of a good brand and a good strategy around it, it's almost a waste of time. You're a salesperson, you're not a business. You're not, it's kind of just really pulling back the view and looking at it on a much larger scale. He said, imagine you're walking down a beer aisle at the grocery store. There's 14 billion different brands of beer. If you have a really recognizable brand, you don't need someone standing there selling the beer to you. You're going to know, oh man, that one's good. I like that. I like what the company stands for, or just everything that their branding makes you feel, even by seeing. I can think literally of beer brands right now that I'm like, oh, that feels like home or Texas, or it's not necessarily how good the beer is, because really the one that I thought of is kind of a crappy beer, but it makes me feel good and I would go buy it because of that feeling that it emotes, right? Um, if you are the agent that is just super tactical, you don't have clear messaging, you don't know who you're talking to, you don't have an idea of your own attributes and things that set you apart, then if you want to be successful, when you're thinking of it as like walking down the beer aisle, you need a salesperson standing at that beer aisle by your cooler saying, hey, check this out, because you don't have the recognition that that these other brands have done, because they did the homework up front by putting all the thoughts into their messaging, whether it is something, I mean, down to logos and colors, or just the way that you communicate what you do to the public. um I mean, that's a whole lot, I know, but it has really challenged me in the way that I have thought about branding and marketing. And do I have a personal brand? Well, maybe a little bit, because I have a, I've had a established real estate business that I've built over the past several years. But as far as like a specific brand, if someone saw it, they would recognize not just my services, but like a feeling that would make someone want to connect to me. We have to get so clear on everything that we're doing, everything that we're putting out there, that it makes our hearts tingle, makes their hearts tingle. Just the same way when Brian was talking about 9/11, and that did something in every single one of us. Hopefully we were all, I think most of us on here were probably born by that time. We might have some young ones sticking it out there in here somewhere, but there is, because it was so attached to emotion, and whether it is that, or an event, or your branding, your messaging, everything, it needs to be so, not necessarily to that extent, but it needs to be really tied to how someone's going to feel, knowing that when they get to work with you, they're like, oh, I know that she's going to make me feel like home, like comforted and taken care of and cherished, because of everything that she has put out there from the first time I recognized her. Versus, you get a sign call and pick up the phone. Okay, cool. I'll meet you right there and let you in the house. From that first phone call, you're immediately telling someone, well, I just show up and unlock doors, versus taking someone through an experience and caring for them. And it all starts with, having a clear idea of ourselves and the values that are important to us. So Michelle's actually, we're talking about like going through, if you have pen and paper, I'm gonna let Michelle go from here.
Yeah, so we thought we'd just do a little bit of an exercise to help you guys jog your memory, or just kind of get to thinking, get the wheels turning. I want you guys to think of your ideal client, not your client that you work with now, but your ideal client. What is that client you want to work with? Is it family, single? Is it luxury? Is it first time home buyer? Just get an idea of what that ideal client is and then write that down. And when y'all are done and have it, give me like a thumbs up or something so we know we can move on to the next. Cool. All right, I think most of us are there. Okay, now when you think of that ideal client, what are some of the values that maybe that ideal client would hold in terms of, are they going to be family oriented? Are they going to be business driven? Are they going to be focused on money? What are some things that stick out in your mind of that ideal client? And write down just a few things there. Okay. And we can obviously, like, you can write down some of like what we're saying here and then come back to it as well. But now you've got your target audience that you need to target your message around. And the next thing that you're going to need to do, and maybe this is probably something that's better to just have you reflect on offline versus while we've got everybody staring and you're like, oh, I got to hurry up. But now you need to walk yourself through an exercise of, and maybe just write these down and then you can go through them later. When you think about yourself working with the ideal client, what would you do for them? Not task-wise. We know you're going to help them find a home. We know that you're going to set them up on a search. We know that you're going to negotiate for them. But what is your unique value that you are going to help them with that might be different than, say, if I were to help someone versus if Alan were to help someone versus if Audra was to help someone? What do you feel is your unique skill set or personality trait? And when you take all of that together, then you can kind of craft the message that you need to your audience. Because you don't want to, if you try to attract everybody, you're going to probably not attract the people that you want to attract. You have to be okay narrowing in your message enough that you're going to attract the people that you want to work with. And there's something magical that happens when you find clients that you want to work with. You mesh so much better, you get in your groove, and you tend to really just attract more of those people going forward. You start enjoying your job a lot more too. So I tell a lot of my mentees, not all business is good business. And we have to get out of the mentality that we will take anything and everything that comes our way. It is absolutely okay to really focus on and hone in and narrow in on the type of people that we want to work with. And if you're like, let's say some of you guys had on there, you want to work with luxury clients, but you haven't done that yet, then you just start building, you go tour luxury homes and you start, doing videos about these luxury homes that you're touring. You start building that presence as a luxury agent. It's absolutely possible, even if you're not there yet. Does anybody want to share kind of what their ideal client is, maybe some of the things that they came up with, and then we can all kind of just spitball back and forth if there's some extra things we maybe see in each other or see, help grow that mindset there.
Okay, I chose families, first-time home buyers, and also downsizers. And I know that's the opposite end of the spectrum, but the similarities, they still are family oriented, and they just may have a different goal. But I feel like I really like cooperative and excited clients that are wanting to actually do what it takes to get their part of it done. And then I'm just very nurturing. I'm a mom. I can love on the old people who are moving into an assisted living and need to sell their home and walk them through that. But I can also help the young first-time home buyers, because there's similar things, even though they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, it's all new to both sides. And I don't know, help me out here.
I think that's a really good example. And because, yes, both sides, whether it is downsizing or first time buyers, they need that nurturing guidance, that empathy for it's both sides can be really hard when it's a first time buyer. There's so much unknown, they have no idea what they're doing. Having that mom type, that real estate mama, that person to help guide them through that is comforting. And it's like, okay, she's not just opening up a door and writing a contract, she's making sure that I'm really cared for and taken care of. And then on the other side, can imagine, just with things that we've talked about with my grandmother, it would be really hard to downsize and give up a big home where you've had all these memories and all of this life, and go into something new, also it's a whole new territory, and still needing that nurturing, understanding thing. So I think you hit that really, really well.
Thank you.
That's and family, I think all of it tied together is a family nurturing. That I think you did a good job with that.
Yeah. And I think I think that like the main theme in that, right, is like family and just guiding people, right? You want to help guide and nurture people. And so I think you just lean into that and lean your messaging into, if you want an agent who is going to be empathetic to what you're going through, who's going to be passionate about helping you, build you got to be careful with fair housing and all of that, but like find your family home, build that dream, like tapping into those emotions of a person who wants someone to hold their hand and guide them is really how you're going to build that brand and attract those type of people.
Okay.
To show your heart and who you are. Like when you said that, that was absolutely no surprise to me, because even in the conversations we've had here, we feel your heart and your intention. So I think you just lean in more into what you authentically are, and build that brand off of that.
I'm a crybaby.
So is your daughter. You guys love passion.
We feel emotions deeply.
There you go.
Yes.
But I think you just made a really good point. Like, lean in to the things that you're it's authentically you. So if you're sitting there struggling with, well, what are my attributes? What is my unique value? What are the things that I bring? Like mom brings the nurturing side. When you're sitting there describing your ideal client and who you want to work with, it's like a mirror of yourself. Um, and so you can look at that, and once you start to pick up the themes, I did this exercise once that Matt sent me. It's fine, like really getting a very detailed picture of your ideal client, and it's asking, like, it goes real deep. And I mean, it took me probably a couple weeks to work through and get this really clear picture. But as I'm going through it, at the end of it, I went back and read it, and I was like, shoot, I just described myself 5 years ago, or things that I'm going through now. And so it's really interesting if you're struggling with being able to list the attributes about yourself and your unique value that you bring to a situation or to a client. If you get a really clear picture of who you want to work with, it's a mirror. It's going to show you those things, because it's just going to naturally show up in your heart. Like, mom isn't going to want to work with, or Anne's not going to want to work with the, like, super fast paced Wall Street big investor. I mean, yeah, numbers wise, that would be awesome, right? That'd be a great commission check. But if you think about her values and what her clear picture is, it doesn't line up with that, right? And she's really going to be miserable throughout that entire transaction, because it just doesn't line up. So if you get that really clear picture, it's going to show so much about you.
Yeah. Did anybody else who's maybe not as touchy-feely because I feel like that'd be my example too. Anybody else have a different perspective or a different audience that they would want to tap into?
I think mine comes from part of it coming from being a first responder. And I know that sounds weird, but I don't, because I've worked with people in my short 1 year, my whole tenure of being an agent, 1 year. I've worked with someone moving from Reno, Nevada and bought a $40,000 house in Floydada, up to currently working with a client who's looking at a $1.6 million house at Lake Allen Henry. And I've worked with everyone in between. And so I don't have a specific target person or family, so to speak. It's someone who, my target is someone who understands that I do know what I'm doing. And if I don't know, I have someone that does. And one of my first things that I like to tell clients is we are working together as a team. We are now a team to get to the end goal of finding you the home that you're looking for ultimately. Let me be your leader. So it's someone that understands and is willing to allow me to lead them through the process. And if I understand that, I'm going to stumble along the way because, yes, I am still learning some things. Understand that if I do stumble, I do have people like y'all, all of y'all that I can call on that can say, hey, you might want to go this way, or no, Brian, this is not the right form you're supposed to use. You're supposed to use this one, or whatever it may be. Understand that I'm going to lead you through this process to get you to your end goal, but you have to allow me to do that. And so really it's a target of people that understand team and understand that there is someone that is going to get them to their end goal and allow me to do that.
Yeah, I feel like what I'm hearing you say is maybe you want to enter into a relationship or partnership with a client that is going to put their trust into you and understand that you're working in their best interest. You're not just working for the paycheck.
Right.
That you're going to guide them through the way, but you also want someone that's going to be receptive to that guidance and not constantly questioning or doubting if you can get them to that end result.
Right. One of the things that I've taken pride in, just again, in the short time, and this was probably my he was my third client that bought the $40,000 home in Floydada, and his review that he put said that I felt like I was buying a $4 million home with Brian because he treated me like someone that was buying a $4 million home, not a $40,000 first home. And that I take a lot of pride in that one. And that one really sticks with me.
Have you done any advertising around that review?
No.
You need to pull that up. I could see a great opportunity for you, not as a like, hey, look at me type of thing, but a great opportunity for you to do some advertising around this review and just be like, this review touches my heart because it's really true to who I am. I treat every client that I have with dignity and respect, whether you're buying a $40,000 home or a $1.6 million home. And I'm going to take good care of you and guide you along the way. I just totally winged that. So, but something along
That's good.
because that review spoke so highly of you, and it really speaks to your heart and what your intentions are. You didn't care that it was a $40,000 house, and I can see it in your face that you were so thankful and grateful that client saw that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm not look at me thing. I don't like that
Yeah.
at all.
No, I don't think that's a look at me either. That's a you just saying like this, like I just had to pull up this review because I want people to understand this is what I strive for. I don't strive at the end of the day to make the biggest paycheck ever. It's to make the biggest impact in individuals' lives and help them through a difficult buying transition.
Yep.
Yeah. You got some gold there. Go dig it.
I did share the link to the podcast in the chat. So before we end the call, make sure you grab that if you want to listen to it more. I think this is a really great start. And something that it's going to take a lot more than one 30-minute conversation, right? To really pull back from your business and think, okay, what do I want someone to think of when they see my name or my logo or whatever? But one other funny thing that he said, all over social media, you see all these, this is not any one particular person, so just know that this is his example. He's like, these people in their videos with their pretty dresses and high heels and flowing hair and showing these luxury homes. He said, we've seen that for years and years, and obviously that isn't working anymore because we have all these lawsuits. So maybe it's time to scale back and rethink what we're putting out there and making it more genuine and more authentic to who you are and who your values are. I'm really excited to finish this last half of the podcast. Maybe this is we're gonna talk about this more on Friday or next Wednesday, but definitely spend some time around that exercise that Michelle shared as well, and just get a really clear picture. Now's a great opportunity for I really do believe that we're gonna see a lot of agents not be agents anymore over the next year. So that means there's market share out there to be taken. You want to be recognizable and memorable and connecting with people, so that way you're the one they call whenever they need somebody.
Yes.
So, well, we are, right over time. Sorry, guys. I just got really excited about this conversation. So, y'all have an amazing Wednesday, and we will see you in 2 days for Feature Friday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.